So hello friends, welcome back to channel. So today is 14th May 2025. So we are going to discuss the section of the Hindu newspaper. So today there are interesting editorials based on national education policies, etc. We will discuss one by one. So this is the article. The name of the article is In India, Education Without Employment. So friends, today let's talk about something that affects almost every students and parents in India, that is education. But not just any education. We are talking about education that leads nowhere. Yes, we are discussing education without employment. So that's the topic of this today's editorial. So I will give you one question, simple question. Let me ask you. So what's get a job or live with dignity? Editorial is trying to ask. He says education policies. We have big announcements, lots of like tinkering labs, startups, NEP 2020. But at the end of graduates still are jobless. So the question arises is, have you heard about NEP 2020, sorry, or coding classes in schools? Yes, this sounds exciting, but the author says these are the surface level changes. They look good on paper, but do they help students actually get job? Not reality. There is no solid connection between what we study and what a job market needs. So the degrees feel useless if they don't match real world skills. Uh, Jobs. Imagine studying for 15 to 20 years and still not getting a job. So how will you feel? That's a reality for the graduate employability rate is just 42.6 percentage. That means more than half of our graduates are either unemployed or doing low paying job or unrelated job. Okay. The editorial says education is becoming a burden instead of em- next. uh, we will discuss the fancy rankings versus reality. So did you know Indian universities are ranked in top 500 globally? Sounds great, right? But the truth is only few are there, and they are still far behind places like Silicon Valley or Cambridge. The startups in India, most of them are not solving real tech problems. Instead, they are making food delivery apps, not inventing new technologies like in China or the United States. So we are copying, we are not creating anything. So no role of industry in a policy. Shouldn't job creators, businesses, and industries be a part of education policy making? Yes, but sadly, no industry experts were included in drafting NEP 2020. So, how can prepare students for jobs if the companies are not even consulted? It's like designing a bridge without asking the engineer. Then we have grand projects but no results. Government spends crores on big research projects, but do we know what comes out of them? The writer says there is no transparency. No one knows if those projects created jobs, tech, or any real innovation. Then comes real versus Jugaad startup. Okay, so what do you think is a true startup? In China and United States, works on a real technology like semiconductors, AI, or medicines. In our country, India, our startups are more like a fancy kirana shops on apps. That's not innovation; it's a packaging. So to rethink. The author says the UGC University Grant Commission talks too much and works too little. Instead of consulting appearing in the news, they should focus on one thing: getting your youth employed. So, friends, to sum up this editorial, education must lead to empowerment, not disappointment. The editorial is not against the government, It simply asks where are the jobs, where is the real science, where is the accountability. So I want to ask you one question. What do you think? Should our education system focus more on real skills and job instead of big announcement? Let me know in a comment section. So coming to the next article, that is ecology is a world permanent economy. So so let me ask you something. When we hear the word economy, what's first thing that comes to your mind? GDP, money, or business growth? Now here is a twist. What if I told you that ecology, yes, trees, rivers, soil, airs, is actually real economy that we have been depending on all along. An environmentalist, Sundarlal, once said, ecology is a permanent economy. Sounds poetic, right? But what does it really mean? Do we really believe our economy can thrive if the climate is broken? Can there be long term profit if the planet is in loss? So let's rewind a bit. Imagine early humans. Back then, we used nature just to survive. We took only what we needed. But what changed? As societies grew and nations formed, we started using nature not just for survival, but for competition. Stockpiling resources, chasing growth sounds familiar. Let me ask you, do any other species do this, exploit nature to this extreme? The answer will be no. They live in a balance. We, on the other hand, are exploiting today and stealing from tomorrow. And here is the irony. While we are destroying nature to grow, we are also depending on nature to save us from the damage. Like expecting a tree we are cutting to give us more oxygen. What happens when we lose that buffer? How will we deal with the climate change or natural disasters? So yes, scientists are doing amazing work to understand the ecosystem, mangroves, carbon cycles, but beyond science, there's something deeper emotion. Think about this. When was the last time you felt truly connected to the nature? Not just seeing it, but feeling it. Because that emotional bond might be our only hope. We protect what we love. And right now, we need to love our earth again. So, look, the climate crisis isn't just a policy problem or tech challenge, it's a moral one. Let's not wait for the governments. What if each of us took one step today? Less plastic, more trees, mindful consumption. And here's a thought to choose on. If ecology is a permanent economy, then every action you take for the planet is an investment, not just in Earth, but in your future. So now over to you. What's one small change you can make this week to reconnect with nature? Drop in a chat or comment section. Okay, so this was a very good articles about the environment. Then we will going to discuss the another article like prime message. India must mobilize global opinion against the Pakistan nuclear threats. So friends, let me ask something before going to this article. What would you do if your neighbor kept threatening you with a stick every time you tried to talk peace? Will you ignore it or will you finally stand up and say enough is enough? That's exactly the position India is in today. Let's talk about what this means and why this editorial matters to every one of us. So, what's happening? Why did Prime Minister Modi visit a frontline airbase in Punjab and address the nation this week? Because tension with Pakistan are once again high. And this time, India is making it clear terrorism will not be tolerated and nuclear threats will not scare us. A shift in India's approach. That is, earlier when terrorists attack, there was a common excuse. These are non-state actors. The government of Pakistan isn't directly involved. Do you think India bought that story? So not anymore. The editor highlights something important. India is openly saying that terrorism coming from across the border is a Pakistan's responsibility, and we are responding strategically, not just emotionally. So, what is Operation Sindoor? So, have you heard of Operation Sindoor? Sounds powerful, right? This operation is the latest sign that India is using a calculated military strategy, just like it did with the surgical strike in 2016 and the Balakot airstrike in 2019. But here is a key difference: India is still open to diplomacy, but only on core issues like terrorism, not on a side topics like Kashmir or water treaties, nuclear threats, and global role. So now here is a serious question: can a country keep threatening other with nuclear weapons and still be seen as a responsible? This editorial says enough is enough. India must take a lead globally and build opinion against Pakistan's strategy of mixing terrorism with a nuclear blackmail. Because nuclear war is not a TV debate topic, it's a real danger, and the world needs to take it seriously. Beyond slogans and TRPs, you know what editorial also warns against? It says, let's not reduce national security to prime time TRP battle. Let's not shout slogan just to feel good. Quiet diplomacy, strong intelligence, and smart actions. That's what India needs right now. So, what's the message of this editorial? That India has its approach, that terrorism will not be brush off, and that as citizens must support a mature, strategic, and bold response, not just emotionally charged headlines. And one last thing, India must lead a global campaign to expose Pakistan's use of nuclear threats because real peace, comes when the world stands together against fear. So, friends, do you agree with this approach? Should India take a lead role globally to call out nuclear blackmail? Type S in the chat if you support this stronger India. So, coming to the last article, that is big deal. US China trade deal will have implications for India. So, what happens when two giants like United States and China shake hand after a month of fighting? And more importantly, how does that affect India, sitting right next door? Let's dive into this big global moment and figure out what it really means for us. The first question comes is, what's the deal about? So first, what exactly happened between the United States and China? Well, they agreed to pause their trade war at least for 90 days. That means America is reducing its high tariffs on Chinese goods from massive 145 percentage to just 30 percentage. In return, China will cut tariffs on United States products from 125 percentage to 10 percentage. Sounds like good news, right? Markets all over the world jumped with joy. But is it all smooth sailing? Not quite. Why did this happen? Let me ask you, do you think this happened because both countries suddenly became best friends? Nope. The editorial says Trump's pressure tactics may have worked. High tariff made life difficult for China, so they came up to the table. But here's the catch: Trump's main complaints about China, like technology theft and unfair trade practices, are still not resolved. So this peace might not last forever. So what does it mean for India? Now the big question is, why should we in India care about this deal? So here is why. During the trade war, many companies were moving out of China. India had a chance to become their next favorite destination, the famous China plus one strategy. But now, if China becomes the safe bet again, those investors might not come here after all. And that's a big concern. India's missed opportunity. Be honest, do you think India has a fully used the China plus one opportunity? The editorial says we haven't. We, we haven't. Our manufacturing still struggles because of issues like land lack of scale and red tape. So even when companies wanted alternatives to China, they often went to Vietnam or Indonesia instead. Then the trade tension with United States. Now here is another twist. What's happening between India and United States? Even as the US makes peace with China, it's still putting pressure on India with the higher import duties. India has now informed the World Trade Organization that it may respond with its own tariffs. So as tensions remains on both the fronts. So what's the way ahead of? So what should India do right now? So the editorial gives a clear message. India needs to act fast. That means the center has to work with the state to fix land, labor, logistic issues, and make it easier to the manufacture at scales. If we don't, we will remain stuck, depend on cheap Chinese product imports with a miss chances flying part us. So friends, here's the real takeaway. The global deals are not just about America and China. They shape the future of our jobs, our industry, and our economy too. So, will India act on this opportunity or will it wait until the next crisis? What do you think? Type your thoughts in the chat box. If you found this editorial explanation useful, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more such a simple breakdowns of the big news. Let's make geopolitics easy for every Indian. So, thank you guys. Have a good day.